News Radio 1000 KTOK, Gwin Faulcon-Lippert here with you. It's time for our update. Yes, it is time for us to talk to Randy Carter of No More Turnpikes, Pike Off OTA, and maybe some other things I can't say.
Yes. We'll keep it family-oriented.
To bring us up to date about what happened in the courts. So when last Randy Carter and I were together, Randy is the director of strategic communications. There were two lawsuits being filed.
You're on the right track. There have been two lawsuits filed against the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority.
Yes.
One by the Pike Off OTA group and a number of other plaintiffs. Another lawsuit by Stan Ward, and he's got 244 plaintiffs on that lawsuit, which is a pretty big number. But that's the one that's had the most recent activity. That one was filed, I believe, in June of this year, and it's on open meeting. They're alleging an open meetings violation by the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority in this access program that is proposing the three turnpikes that I personally am opposed to, and our group is vehemently opposed to.
You mean the access program?
No, well, yes. I guess you could. I guess you could say that A with an E.
I'm the only one that gets away with that.
Okay, the
it's
access
really
program.
Access, but
yes.
I say excess. Okay.
I will agree, and I'll have some numbers that I can show you some of the excesses if you'd like to hear that here in a few minutes. But we're talking about lawsuits right now.
Yes.
So there's two lawsuits filed. One is alleging that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority does not have legal authorization to build the three turnpike legs that they have proposed that come through Cleveland County. The south extension that goes through eastern Cleveland County, just west of Lake Thunderbird.
Through the Rose Rock Sanctuary.
Through the Rose Rocks, through the watershed of Lake Thunderbird. There's lots and lots of reasons that we think they shouldn't go through there. One of the personal reasons I think it shouldn't go through there is because it goes right through my house.
Yes.
Now, I am biased because it does affect me directly, but I am discovering so many things that make this turnpike really not viable at all.
Good.
So we're talking about the lawsuits. The first lawsuit was filed that alleges those three legs have not been legally authorized. The East-West Connector and the Tri-City Connector were supposed to have been, they were authorized by the state legislature back in, I believe, 1987. But as a part of that authorization, they were supposed to have been done under one bond issue, along with three other turnpikes. One of those turnpikes was completed, and the others were not done. So, by law, they are not legally authorized.
But the turnpike people claim that because it was authorized then, it's still good now.
Well, that's what the court battle is about.
Yes.
Those are the two of the legs. The third leg, the southern extension that goes from just the north side of Purcell through the east side of Norman, west of Lake Thunderbird, connecting to the east-west connector, which is basically along Indian Hills Road from I-35 going west. It'll connect to the Kickapoo Turnpike at I-40, the recently completed Kickapoo Turnpike that is in eastern Oklahoma County.
Yes, that I was one car on it.
You were the one car on it?
I was.
Well, we can talk. I've got some figures that might interest you here in a few minutes. So what's happened in the lawsuits, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority has, well, first of all, the lawsuits were filed in Cleveland County. The Cleveland County judges recused themselves from the case.
Because?
Well, one, because one of the judges that was assigned to the case is a relative of one of the attorneys on the case. So that's certainly a legitimate reason. Family member you wouldn't want to be in charge of adjudicating. That makes sense to me. The other one, the judges in Cleveland County evidently didn't want to take the case. It was assigned by a presiding judge over the area.
In Seminole?
It was assigned by a judge from Carter County, who's the presiding judge over this district, as I understand it, to Judge Timothy Olson in Seminole County. Mm-hmm. So he's the one, it was assigned to him. The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority made a motion to have the case dismissed. There was a hearing, I believe, back in August. don't quote me on exactly the dates, but
Sure.
but recently in August, where the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority asked Judge Olson to dismiss the case because they contended that he did not have jurisdiction, that the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction over all issues regarding the Turnpike Authority. Well, Judge Olson, after a number of weeks, which a judge should do, I mean, they need to take the time, they need to make sure they understand.
Look at all the rulings, yes.
Look at everything. He denied the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority's motion to dismiss the case.
So it continues.
Yeah, that means that the case continues. But in the meantime, then the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority took what I consider, and many attorneys I've talked to consider, an unprecedented move. They went to the Supreme Court. They've also filed and asked for to authorize the bonds, which, as the law works, as I understand it, the Supreme Court does have original jurisdiction to decide to authorize a bond validation. I know this gets complicated.
And is this just for turnpikes or
just for the
bond?
Turnpike Authority,
Okay.
as I understand it? I can't speak for any other agency. This is the only one that I have experience with.
Sure.
So, after Judge Olson ruled to deny OTA's motion, then the OTA then came back to the Supreme Court and asked. It's called a writ of prohibition. And I mean, I don't understand a lot of law anyway, but this is unprecedented. They ask the Supreme Court to basically take the case away from Judge Olson and remand it back to the Supreme Court. That was a hearing last Tuesday.
Yes.
But the Friday before that, the Supreme Court released the ruling on OTA's request to have the bonds validated. They said yes, we will hear the case on bond validation, but this by no means means that the cases in the district courts now will be stayed. They will continue. I don't remember the exact wording, but that was the effect of their ruling.
They agreed just to hear it.
They agreed just to hear the part of the bond validation. They did not agree to take the case away. They did not agree to stay the cases in district court. So that means the cases in district court will continue, which brings us to tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yes. The OTA there will be depositions taken tomorrow in the open meetings case. As I understand it, Joey Kelly, the deputy director of the Turnpike Authority, who is basically in charge of the Turnpike Authority, is the first person called to be deposed tomorrow. And I understand that Secretary Tim Gatz is the next person to be deposed.
Is this a public deposition?
No. Depositions are generally not public.
Okay.
From what I've seen.
So you won't be rallying
No.
at the Supreme Court?
No. There won't be any rallying. No, it's taking place in Cleveland County.
Oh.
Yes, it'll be, and there's no judge present.
Gotcha.
At a deposition.
Well, there hasn't been a judge present at anything yet, which shocked me.
Well, I've gotten quite an education about how the Supreme Court works and how this court system works. I mean, I don't have a law degree by any means, but what happens when a case comes before the Supreme Court? There's a hearing in front of a referee. The referee hears. Yes, whatever. Yeah, I expected him to come out in a striped shirt, but he was dressed very appropriately in a suit and tie, as the rest of us were in that hearing. He listened to arguments. This past Tuesday, he listened to arguments from the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority's attorney for reasons why the case should be removed from the district court and moved into the Supreme Court, and then the opposite side on the open meetings case gave their presentation. And basically what they said is that the Supreme Court is an appellate court. Basically what that means is cases get decided in district court. That's where they do discovery. That's where there's testimony. And those courts are prepared. They're geared to do that kind of thing. The Supreme Court and the appeals courts are not. So really, in my opinion, it would be a travesty of justice if the Supreme Court took the case and were unable to do discovery or take testimony like the district courts can do. Now, it could get to the Supreme Court if it's appealed. Mm-hmm. So
It could get there.
It could get there.
But this is highly unusual, isn't it?
It's not highly unusual to ask for a case to be dismissed. It is highly unusual to go back after the case
was ruled on.
Or the motion to dismiss was ruled on and denied. I think it is unusual that they would have gone back to the Supreme Court again to try to get the case taken away from the judge that denied it. Okay. I mean, what are they trying to hide?
Okay. In the meantime, there are Facebook pages, No More Turnpikes.
Yes.
And if you go to that Facebook page, it makes you think that the Turnpike Authority is already taking down trees and clearing land. Is that true, or is that just a Facebook?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think they're specifically taking any properties. Now they have purchased some properties.
Oh.
I believe along the east-west route, but those are and this is what they say.
That's the Indian Hill Road.
Indian Hills Road, yes. Those properties have been purchased by the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority from people who want out. And they have contacted the Turnpike Authority.
Oh.
So the Turnpike Authority, now they have, I have seen some letters that they have sent to people along that Indian Hills route telling them that surveyors were going to come to do surveying.
But the route really has not been approved yet, right? And the bonds have not been let. And
oh, no.
Are we getting the turnpike before the car?
I've thought that from the very beginning. So yes, I'm biased in my opinion on that. Absolutely. There's 11 turnpikes right now, and only 3 of them or 4 of them even make money.
And how many do they want? Don't they want to have like 15 or something?
There are a
If you see
number.
that map.
That map, it was on one of our T-shirts, the map. Those are all turnpikes that have been authorized to be built all over the state. And
who authorized them, though?
I believe the legislature has authorized those because that is the one and only oversight that the legislature has on the Turnpike Authority is they have to authorize the turnpikes. And, of course, that's the contention of one of the lawsuits is the turnpikes are not legally authorized.
Well, and somebody pointed out on one of your web pages, and we need to go back to the court case, but that when there's a turnpike and then there's a little bit extra at the end that doesn't make any sense, and that's the stem of the next part, and so that's how they can claim that they've started on the next part? I don't know. I read that.
Well, that's possible. That's possible. Well, and of course, if they're going to build the turnpike and it's supposed to, they don't want to just have it cut off. They want to make it so it's easily accessible if they do build more roads or connect them. No, that's understandable.
No, it's not. Anyway, okay, so they're taking depositions tomorrow of Tim Gatz and the Deputy Director
Joe Kelly, yes.
Yes.
And they are scheduled to go on all week for different people. A number of the directors or the board members of the Turnpike Authority have been called, and I believe that one of the engineering firms, consulting firms, has been authorized or called by the judge has okayed that they would be deposed as well. So they're basically trying to find out. The allegation is that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority violated the open meetings laws
by not talking to anyone and not posting it.
By not posting it on their agenda as they should. And quite frankly, they've put on a full court press to try to keep from being open and transparent.
That's right.
And
so how did we finally find out about it?
Well, they
showed up to survey.
Well, oh no. On I believe it was February 22nd. Mm-hmm. The governor and the Secretary of Transportation, Tim Gatz, made an announcement at the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority regular monthly board meeting and laid out the whole plan. That's the first we'd heard of it. And I'm not sure how I remember finding out about it. Somehow I was sitting in my living room in my chair, my favorite chair, and
what was your favorite chair?
Well, it still is for now, and I'm not giving up. You're
not going to let a turnpike come through your favorite chair.
Not today. Not
Right.
today. And I was looking, I saw that they had proposed this turnpike going through eastern Cleveland County, and I looked a little closer, and I looked a little closer, and I looked a little closer, and there it was going right over my house.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, glad I was wearing brown pants at the time. It was quite a shock.
So
and,
do you have recourse?
Well, I'm sure we do. It's not a done deal yet.
Good.
It's just absolutely not a done deal. And we're doing everything we can to keep it from being a done deal. And we're finding out all kinds of things that should keep it from being a done deal. One of the things the Turnpike Authority does, and I believe we talked about this just a little bit, but I have some numbers to back this up this time. Throughout the history of the Turnpike Authority, they hire a particular firm to do toll projections. Basically, what they believe the revenues will be on a proposed turnpike route. Mm-hmm. That's what they use. They use those numbers to then sell the bonds. So they're saying, hey, we're going to make this many millions of dollars. We need this many million of dollars in bonds. But we found out that historically, these projections that this firm has done throughout the whole history of the Turnpike Authority have only been 63% accurate.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of money.
Well, yeah.
40, 38% or whatever.
Yeah, almost 40%. When I was in school, if I made a 63, that was an F.
You did not pass.
I did not pass. Well, these seem to be passing. I'll just share one number with you right here. The Kickapoo Turnpike just recently opened in Oklahoma County. This company projected that the annual revenues from the Eastern Oklahoma County Turnpike would be $5,980,000 a year. Well, the actual revenue that year, 2021, where these figures come from, was $3,455,000. That's only 58% of the projections.
Wow.
But yet they sold the bonds based on the projections that it would bring in nearly $6 million a year, and it's barely bringing in $3.5 million a year.
And so at that rate, you can't pay off the bonds.
And that's what they're not able to pay off the bonds. They are having trouble paying off the bonds right now.
Oh, so is that the plan? Build new turnpikes to pay off those bonds?
That's what it seems like to us. That one of the reasons they're proposing these new turnpikes is to bring in a big bond issue so they can pay off the debt that exists now. But the Turnpike Authority is approximately $1.7 billion in debt right now.
1.7 billion?
1.7 billion, and they want to bring on this access program that what'd you call it? Access. Anyway, this access program that they are proposing is going to increase the debt $5 billion. It's a $5 billion project is what they're proposing. So that is $6.7 billion in debt.
Let's let that soak in.
Okay.
The Access Oklahoma actually drives right through his home. And how did he find that out? Oh, he was watching the news one night. Don't they have to talk to you about that?
Well, that's what the contention is of this open meetings case, is they are supposed to let people know and have input. And again, I don't know the points of law on the open meeting, but Stan Ward, the lead attorney in this, in fact, it goes right through Stan Ward's house as well. That's what got his attention.
244 other plaintiffs or whatever.
Yes. Got his attention the same day I got mine attention.
Well, while everybody's going, well, that's just progress. Okay, you all, you need to see Stan Ward when he's standing there going, do I paint my house? Do I rebuild my fence? Mm-hmm. Or do I just wait? So I want everyone to feel this.
Well,
what do you do for your property?
It's a little bit like the sword of Damocles hanging over your head by a hair. You don't know whether it's going to fall. You don't know when it's going to fall. You don't know if it's going to fall.
It doesn't need to happen. That's the bottom line.
Well, that's our contention. That's what we're trying to prove, those of us that are fighting this turnpike issue. I'm not against progress. I'm not against economic development. But these turnpikes just don't make sense. They don't make sense from a traffic perspective. They don't make sense from an environmental perspective. We've got people, in fact, we've got a a couple of people that are extremely expert engineers, certified engineers, that can show contentions as to why these turnpikes are so poorly engineered, that the traffic studies are incorrect. They're just wrong.
And what about the city of Norman water supply will be affected, the watershed?
Well, that is our contention as well. They're planning right now. The city of Norman, east of 36th Street, out towards Lake Thunderbird, is Lake Thunderbird is an impaired lake, and that is the watershed that feeds the water to Lake Thunderbird. Lake Thunderbird supplies the water to Norman, Midwest City, and Dell City. Mm-hmm. So it's a major water source for all these cities, and they've said it's spent about 50 years of its 100-year life, and it is impaired. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but it doesn't sound good.
It sounds in trouble.
Yeah, it sounds like it's in trouble. Well, you come in and build a turnpike through there, the construction itself is going to have a major detrimental effect on the watershed.
Yes. But
But then when they're bringing traffic through, and if there's spills and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be extremely detrimental to the water that supplies those three cities. I mean, that's not a small, and then that's a pretty big portion of the Oklahoma population or make up those three cities. It's not just not my little hometown of Duncan, where we had 3 or 4 lakes.
do you have hope about this, that you can actually stop the Turnpike Authority?
I don't know that we can stop the Turnpike Authority, but I think we can make them pay attention and make better decisions about these turnpikes and the need for them. We just don't think they're necessary. We don't think that they need them. And obviously, I'm biased. I would not know all of this stuff if it hadn't been coming through my house.
You're right.
So I will.
But it's not coming through my house.
No.
And I care.
Thank you.
It seems excessive.
I think it does too. Well, the Turner Turnpike was built back in the 40s. The Turner Turnpike has been extremely effective. It has been a wonderful turnpike for the state of Oklahoma. It started making money from the very beginning, as I understand it. But what they did, and
Turner goes from Oklahoma City to Tulsa.
Yes, Turner goes from Oklahoma City to Tulsa, and it makes money in and of itself. But and it was done by a vote of the people of the state of Oklahoma to allow cross-pledging, which means that they take the profits
from
one and apply them to the others that don't make money. But now they've spread that out so far that in the grand scheme of things, they're not making money.
The turnpikes will never be free.
Well, that is what it appears to be.
Yes, because we'll just find another project to fund.
Well, it appears to me that they're funding these projects now to pay the debt on the projects that the revenues don't pay off as on a daily basis.
Kick-a-poo.
Yeah, or kick the can down the road.
Yeah.
For future generations to have to deal with this problem.
Right. So, what do you want us to do?
Contact your legislators. One of the things that we have been involved with, there were a couple of interim studies by the Senate. There's going to be another one in the House. Senator Rob Standridge held an interim study where a number of the people that are opposing the turnpike made presentations as to why the turnpike should not go through. Well, actually, not through. What we're asking for is that the legislature take back more oversight over the Turnpike Authority. Right now, the only oversight anybody has over the turnpike is that a particular turnpike has to be authorized by the legislature. And if it's been authorized, they think they can do whatever they want, wherever they want, whenever they want.
And there's no time constraint. There was, right?
Yes. The 2 legs, the Indian Hills and the Tri-City going from Newcastle over to I-35, those were approved, but they had to have been done under this one bond issue. It's specifically written into the law that way. And they didn't do it when they issued that bond. I believe.
So they spent all that money on something else or on one of them, so they couldn't do the other 2?
Well, I think what they found out is they could not justify issuing that much of a bond issue. And again, there's some history here. I don't know all the exact details. As I understand it, they were not able to generate enough support to generate the bond sales to build all of those turnpikes that were legislatively authorized. That's a mouthful. Back in, I believe it was 1987.
Now, it seems to me that the representatives in Norman and people and leaders, Norman leaders, have been pretty active on this.
Yes.
But
yes.
wasn't the mayor caught saying he supported it or not?
No, the mayor, and I'm going to defend the mayor because he has, and I saw an email from him just the other day that said he said, I am opposed to the turnpikes. The mayor, as I see it, is in his job as he's in a leadership job. He can't just take one side or the other. He has to listen to all sides and try to make a good decision. And I think that's what the mayor is doing, and he's not taking a vocal, visible, rah point of view on the turnpikes. And of course, we wish he would, but I'm glad that he said he is opposed to the turnpikes.
Yes.
And I've met with the mayor a number of times and am very appreciative of the time he spends with us to hear our side of the story.
That's good.
And the Norman City Council took legal action. They did not file a suit against the Turnpike Authority, but they jumped, again, I don't know the terminology, but they jumped onto a suit.
They joined a suit.
They joined into a suit, yes, and have testified in front. In fact, they testified in front of the referee on the bond validation hearing.
Yes.
Yes. So no, I greatly appreciate everybody's efforts to help us fight these turnpikes as they are proposed. But again, like I said, I am not against economic development and I am not against progress. It's just not these turnpikes. They're just not. Well, they're not legally authorized. They're not necessary. The engineering has not been done properly. There's a lot of support from developers and builders and contractors to push these through for economic profit. And again, people in business have to make money. There's nothing wrong with that, but not for these reasons, not these turnpikes.
News Radio 1000 KTOK. Hike off, OTA. Do we need more turnpikes? Randy Carter, Director of Strategic Communications, says, no way, especially not through my home, or the Norman watershed, or the Rose Rock Sanctuary, if you will. We got to get that in there. And so they're doing the depositions of Tim Gatz and others this week. When will the referee turn it over to the justices of the
Supreme Court?
Court?
As I understand, and here's what I saw when they brought the case for bond validation.
Okay.
Both attorneys for the PIKE case and for the open meetings case made presentations. The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority's attorney made presentations as well. And actually, it was kind of unusual because the referee asked if anybody wanted to make a statement.
And did you?
I did not. Okay. We had other people that did.
Tom Elmore did.
Tom Elmore did. Yes. Amy Serrato did.
Yes.
Mike Reynolds. Former state representative.
And he had Jerry Fent with him, who is the constitutional law advocate.
Okay.
And he has taken city council, he's taken everyone to court.
Oh, is that right?
For violating the Oklahoma Constitution.
Okay. Well, he's a good person to have there. So, yes. But all that testimony took place. And I believe it was, so the referee's going to take all that in. He's going to make a recommendation to the justices.
Right.
So that happened weeks ago.
And nothing's happened yet.
No, that happened last Friday. That was the ruling that I was talking about, where the justices came out and said, yes, we will hear the bond validation case. They didn't decide on it. They just said, we'll hear it. But they also said that, no, we will not take the two cases that are in district court, the open meetings case and the legal authorization case.
So they're not going to go over the heads of the district court.
No.
They are respecting the Oklahoma Constitution.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yes, I would agree that that's exactly what they're doing because they're not the place. they're not the Supreme Court is not the place that can take discovery, that can hear testimony. That they're an appellate court. They hear appeals.
Right.
Except with bond authorization for the Turnpike Authority. They have original jurisdiction over that aspect.
Which is interesting.
It is interesting.
So the OTA was trying to expand the Supreme Court's power over them, and the citizens said, no, you've got to do it the right way because the right way is the way it's supposed to be done. And so now you're paused? Everybody's paused?
No, the cases are proceeding.
Yes.
The cases are proceeding. Like I said, the depositions are going to take place this week.
When do the Cleveland County things happen?
That is part of the Cleveland County case, the depositions. But the PIKE case about legal authorization is scheduled for, again, the Turnpike Authority has asked to have that case dismissed from the same judge that denied them dismissal for the open meetings case. So we kind of feel like that, motion is in our direction.
We hope.
But that is going to be November 4th at 2 p.m. in Cleveland County Courthouse. Even though Judge Olson is a district judge in Seminole County, the case is in Cleveland County, so he's going to the other hearing on the open meetings case was done by Zoom. I happened to tune in on that and watch it along with a newspaper reporter, actually a couple of newspaper reporters were interested in that case. But this is going to be in the courtroom, and it is a case open. I mean, it's a hearing open to the public, and I do plan on attending that. I may have to pass the bar, but I'm getting a more of a legal education than I ever.
I have to go to the bar, I'm afraid, but yes. So we really won't know much till November 5th?
No. Friday, November 4th. Well, no. In fact, we won't know anything that day either. Again, there will be testimony to dismiss the case. There'll be testimony to not dismiss the case. The judge will take that in, and he will read the law, he'll review the testimony, and he'll make a decision.
Now, are these turnpikes the ones that were postponed, defeated, whatever, in the 80s?
It was in the 90s.
Yes.
But no. Yes and no.
That was called the Eastern Loop, I think.
Yes and no. That was the Highway Department or Department of Transportation. Actually, I worked years ago when the Oklahoma Transportation Building was opened. I happened to be a photographer on the staff at that building.
Oh, wow.
And I got to climb up. I was very young. I got to climb up a real tall ladder and put a sheet over the seal so that when the governor could come over to dedicate the building, we could pull it down, kind of like a ribbon cutting.
Yes.
So back then it was the Highway Department. Now it's the Department of Transportation. So the Department of Transportation was proposing a highway through a similar location in Cleveland County. It was a little further west than this southern leg they're proposing now. There was a lot of give and take, and I remembered I was involved. I'd gone to a couple of meetings, but Neil McCaleb was running things in those days. And finally, after a lot of push and shove and give and take, he came out and basically said, "The people don't want this. We're not going to pursue it."
Okay.
And it died at that point.
So, is that a possibility this time?
To put the route there?
The people don't want it?
Oh, well, the people definitely don't want it. The people don't want it. I don't know. It's not a done deal, and we're still fighting.
They claim it's not a done deal, but if you look at your Facebook page, people are saying they're surveying my yard. They're coming up and asking questions. They're doing this.
Well, yes, of course. They are proceeding like it's a done deal. Mm-hmm. Well, but when they tried to go before the Council on Bond Oversight, which approves bond applications, the Council on Bond Oversight said they would approve the bond application, but none of the money could be spent on the three legs that are under litigation. So they said, and they came out the next day, and the Turnpike Authority came out the next day and said, yes, well, we're going to proceed, but we're just going to use money from regular funds, which they
can do that?
Well, evidently they can, but as I remember, they kind of backtracked on that a few days later.
Well, they also said, yes, we have not chosen the route.
Yes, well, they say they haven't chosen the route. They say they don't know how many houses are going to be taken. We say it's going to be 600 or more. Now, at the interim study, the deputy director finally gave a number. He said, we think it might be 200 to 250 homes. So they did give a number, but we've had people that have looked at the map. They've looked at the route. I mean, you can pull this up on Google Maps. You don't need an engineering degree.
But you do have a member of your No More Turnpikes Facebook page that has flown it now in an airplane.
Yes.
And you can see for yourself.
Oh, yeah. I saw my house in that video.
Did you cry?
A little bit.
I don't blame you. I would cry. Okay. Well, we have about one more minute. What shall we take away?
Oh my goodness! We need your support. I mean, this right now is a Cleveland County issue. But if you've seen the map of all the proposed turnpikes, we've figured out that it could affect 600,000 people in Oklahoma. The proposed turnpikes that could take place. So it could affect people all over the state. They just don't know about it. So it's not just a Cleveland County issue, and we need to encourage more legislative oversight. We need to encourage them to take the Turnpike Authority has, until we came along fighting this, from what I've understood, the Turnpike Authority rarely ever talked to the legislature about anything. They hadn't seen them in years.
And they use eminent domain.
And they use eminent domain to take people's homes, yes. And that's another issue. That's one of the things that we would like a little more legislative oversight. And there's some senators. I've talked to a number of senators and representatives that are interested in our cause, and we hope to have some proposed legislation for the next session, which begins the 1st of February. But I believe the deadline for legislation to be proposed is somewhere in the early part of December.
Yes.
But we plan to work the legislature hard. We plan to be up there and visiting with all our representatives, all our senators, to make sure they know our side of the story, and hopefully they will take our side, and they will put some more guidelines, some more guideposts, some more oversight on the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, so they don't so drastically affect so many people's lives, and they get their finances in order as well.
If people want to know more, what's the best way to find out?
PikeOffOTA.com is a website where if they'd like to make a contribution, we would certainly take that. These lawsuits are not free, and they do cost money. And we're doing outreach and a lot of other kinds of things to encourage people to learn more about this turnpike situation. PikeOffOTA.com. There's also No More Turnpikes Oklahoma is a Facebook page where a lot of things are posted, a lot of information. And some misinformation too, but you got to take it all in
social
stride.
Media.
Yes, absolutely.
Randy Carter is the Director of Strategic Communication for Pike Off OTA.